Greetings, Ian from R.T.O here. Welcome to another Saturday special. And of course, if you can see, I've got my good friend from Ireland with me again for another mix of talk, chat, and shocks and horrors. Good morning, Richard.
Morning, Ian. Thanks for having me yet again.
Yeah, we're becoming a bit of a thing on my channel. My subscribers really like what we do together, which is a good thing. I know it's doing well on your channel as well. So today, folks, we're going to look at our favourite number ones from the 1980s. We've done the 70s, so today we're going to do the 80s. Same format. Richard goes first, I go second, honourable mentions, and away we go. So, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Let's go then.
My number 10 is actually a song which was originally released in 1981, in November 81, but it didn't actually get to number one until January 1983. And that is Men at Work and Down Under, which I think is a perfect pop song, and I love the video as well. And it's the first time I ever heard of Vegemite. Never heard of it. I have since tasted it. It's disgusting, but it's a really good pop song. And this took a while to sort of chart elsewhere in the world. It did really well in Australia at the end of 1981, and then Canada picked it up in 82, and then the US picked it up at the very end of 82. And then it got to number one in January for 3 weeks over here in the UK. So that's my number 10.
Yep, totally agree. I'm not going to say too much on that one because it may appear later on. So my number 10, I'm going to 1987. A song that was at the charts for 5 weeks at number one, and it's China in Your Hand to Pal.
Oh, right. No, I like that.
Yeah. It's a great song. I love the little beginning, that dong, 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 dong. I love that. And I love the saxophone solo in it. It's just terrific. Now, I've actually seen to Pal.
Oh, so you've actually seen Carl Decker? Wow.
Yeah, they supported Status Quo.
Right.
I saw them it was Oxford. I can't remember what tour it was, but to Pal opened, and they were terrific. And I can tell you something, they were better than Quo that night.
All right. What year would that have been?
God.
90s or 2000s?
It's going to be late 80s. I think it was on the Perfect Remedy tour.
Yeah.
Which was a pretty naff album from Quo anyway. Their sound was a little bit back in the 80s, even on stage. But that's why I think to Pal blew them off the stage. Because they played a lot of Bridge of Spies, and I think their second album was out.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so yeah, I love that track.
Oh, I enjoy it as well. It didn't make my list, so there you go.
Yeah.
Well, my number 9, I've done a lot. This is actually more difficult than the 70s one, I think. And by the way, I'm only picking one song per artist as well, which is a pain because there was 2 that I really wanted to get on, and I still haven't made up my mind. But anyway, number 9, a number 1 hit in October 1980 for 3 weeks, and it's Barbra Streisand and Woman in Love. And I'm not a Barbra Streisand fan, but I love this song, and I love the way she sings it, and it shows how good a singer she actually is. That the notes, the high notes she gets are unbelievable. And of course, it was written by Barry Gibb and Robin Gibb of the Bee Gees from her excellent album Guilty. But anything else by Barbara, not interested in. So that's my number 9. And also the B-side of this is my second favorite song of hers, called Run Wild, which is also on that Guilty album. So it's a bit like the George Harrison from the last video we did. 2 fantastic songs on one single.
Yeah, you can tell there's a BG influence on that song. It's the writing. You knew that come from them because it's a great song. I'm not a fan like you, but that song I do remember. Didn't make my list, but it's the one that I really do remember. So my number 9, we go to 1981 now. To a ska band that I pretty well like, and it's the Specials, and it's Ghost Town. I love that track.
I like it. I didn't make my list though, but I still do like it.
Very song from the day.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Especially that video.
Yeah, I know.
I
There
mean,
was a lot of unrest in 1981 as well, so there
yeah,
was.
people think things are bad now. They should have been there in 1981.
Exactly.
Yeah, great song. An anthem from 1981 in my books.
Yeah. No, good choice. Good choice. Well, my number 8, and we're sticking with the Bee Gees theme here again, and it is the Bee Gees, and it's You Win Again, which got to number 1 in October 87 for 4 weeks. Now, this is just catchy as hell. And the way I look at it is this is the first release they had since their disappointing album, Living Eyes, in 1981. But they were not being lazy around. They were still working really hard because they were writing songs for other people, like the Barbra Streisand there in 1980, then Dionne Warwick, Heartbreaker in 82, and then Islands in the Stream in 83 for Dolly and Kenny, and then Chain Reaction for Diana Ross in 85. So they were still plowing out the songs, and I think they did it on purpose because by this time, by the early 80s, they were so over successful with disco that nobody wanted to buy anything by the Bee Gees anymore, and they still had great songs. So they gave them to other people. And then by 1987, you'd forgotten about Saturday Night Fever. They came back with this, and it's absolutely brilliant. But unfortunately, the album it's from is rubbish. It's not very good. This is by far the best song off it, and I love it, and it's my number 8.
Yeah, Bee Gees, I know they're a phenomenal band, full stop. And their work ethic was fantastic. Even, as you said, without them actually ploughing out stuff, they were busy writing and producing as well. So hats off to them. Yeah, great song, great comeback song. But as you say, the album's a little bit.
Yes, the worst.
Okay, my number 8. Well, it's not a song that was actually originally from the 80s. It's a song I've always loved. It was actually first out in 1957 and got to number 6.
I have an idea.
And it was re-released in I think it was 1980. I can't remember what year it was. 86.
Mm-hmm.
Repeat, Petite, Jackie Wilson.
Yeah.
I've always loved that song. But what made it even better now was that fantastic video made up the plaster scene, as I call it. It's just absolutely brilliant, and I think that's why it did so well, because everyone loved that video.
Oh, it's a great song, absolutely great song. I bought the single myself, and there was a bit of a wonder whether it was the Christmas number 1 or not, or was it the House Martins' Caravan of Love? I think it was actually Jackie Wilson's Reet Petite.
Yeah.
And I think the B-side of it, because it was a reissue, was I Get the Sweetest Feeling as well. So good, cracking good songs on the one single.
Yeah, I mean, I like some of Jackie Wilson's. I've got a compilation of his, and it's a really good song.
Oh, good choice. Well, my number 7 is a cover version of a number 1 hit from the 70s. It also got to number 1, and this is my favorite version of it, and it's Doctor and the Medics' Spirit in the Sky, which I love, and I love the video for it. I love those 2 creepy vampire girls as well whenever they do the climbing up to the Spirit in the Sky. And the guitar riff on it is fantastic. So I bought the album as well as the single. And the album's not very good either. It's just a single I really do like. I love it. And this got to number 1 again in the 2000s. So that's 3 different artists have taken it to number 1. 2000s, I think it was Gareth Gates and the Kumars. But I know this is.
Yeah, well, the less we say about that, the better. But I agree.
This is the best version. This I think is brilliant, and it gets my number 6. Number 3. Number 1 for 3 weeks in June '86.
Absolutely brilliant track that is. My number 7, we're going to Adam and the Ants. Yeah. And it's Stand and Deliver. I love this. What a diddly quaquas.
I did quack, oh, come on, Ian, number no, but anyway.
I just love that song. I love the video to it. It's just so
That is
camp and glam. I
oh,
just love
no,
that song.
1981 again.
1981 again. Yeah, there's some great songs in that year, and that is
Yeah.
one of them.
And it went straight into number one, I believe,
Yes,
as
it did.
well. I think it was the first time since the Jam in 80, or maybe the Police did as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was a great straight in.
A very good choice. Right, my number six, you hate. So you're going to tear your hair out because you said you hated it in the previous video. It is a cover version, and it's always on my mind by the Pet Shop Boys. I love, love, love this version. I hate this sort of music because it's too dancey, but it works so well, and I love the synth in it. Now, I'll give Elvis credit. I love his version as well. I'm not keen on Willie Nelson's version as well, people, but this is my favorite version. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It is the synth in it, and Neil Tennant's sort of very deadpan voice, I think, really works so well. Number one for 4 weeks, December 1987, Christmas number one.
Yeah, I'm not going. I like it. Okay, at my number six, this is one of them little one-off wonders. Well, she made an album, but this was the only song that ever did anything. We're going to 1981 again, and he got to number one for 1 week. It's Japanese Boy, Anika.
I like it as well. I do.
I thought it was a great song. I mean, I remember that summer was a great summer. I mean, Botham's Ashes and some great music, and that is one of them songs from that summer. I just love the and she had a lovely voice. Pity she didn't do anything else. She made one album, which was pretty naff, but had one great song on it. One of the best-selling songs of 1981.
Scottish Girl, I believe.
Yes, Scottish Girl, yeah.
No, I like it as well. It's sort of a good pop, almost disco type song, but it's very catchy. Okay, my number five, and this is the one I was struggling with because this is, as I say, I can only have one song per artist, and it's David Bowie. And I didn't know which one I was going to pick, but I've finally gone with Let's Dance from 1983. The other number one I was going to pick was Ashes to Ashes. I love the both of them. This got to number one in April of 1983. And I remember whenever this was coming into the charts, it got into the charts at number 5. And I used to go to a record shop called Sounds Fantastic, and we're very friendly with the guys behind the counter. Now, when this went in at number 5, Duran Duran, Is There Something I Should Know, went straight in at number 1. And I thought, well, this has done really well. Bowie's had a top 5 single. But at the end of the week, George said to me he was in contact with the suppliers, and they say this will be number 1 next week. I thought, no way, no way. And then I got all excited, and it was. It displaced Duran Duran. I stayed there for 3 weeks. I think it's got a really good video. It's a beautifully sounding record. The whole Let's Dance album is, in fact, produced by Nile Rodgers. Absolutely excellent, and a good dance groove to it. So I guess my number 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think David Bowie was one of these guys that was the king of reinvention.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They say about Madonna, nah, David Bowie could reinvent himself and still come up with great music, and that is a great song. I like that song. Not in my top 10, but it's a song that I love.
Okay.
Okay, my number 5 is one we've already mentioned. It's from 1983, Men at Work, Down Under.
Yeah.
Well, controversial with this song because they got sued for the flute bit when it was on a TV show, a pop quiz. And the person said, where did this come from? A children's program. And then it was years later, they got done for plagiarism.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I think it happened in the 80s. It was actually written in 1932. And members of the family said, well, that's ours. And it eventually went to court, and it didn't get settled till 2010. And it did go. So Men at Work had to pay them a few quid.
Well,
but I still like it.
I love it.
Great track.
Okay, now my number four you may call a guilty pleasure, and it got to number one for 2 weeks in January of '82. It was released at the end of '81, and it is. I wonder where this will be in your list now, coming next week. Bucks Fizz and the Land of Make Believe. I love this. I love the drums in this. And I always keep on saying, if anybody laughs at me for loving Bucks Fizz, I'll tell them the lyrics of this are actually written by Pete Sinfield of King Crimson. So there is a prog link with this, but I think it's absolutely fantastic. The only wee bit I don't like at the end is the wee narration bit at the very end. I wish they had done away with that.
Yeah, it's a bit cheesy.
It's a bit cheesy, but the song itself I think is great, and the drum beat I absolutely love in it. And it's catchy, and it gets my number four.
Yeah, I mean, when our friend Alan asked for that Bucks Fizz, I thought, oh, this is going to be a bit freaky for me. But I tell you what, I've
enjoyed
been amazed.
Yes,
and it should be a good show.
Yeah, definitely.
I totally agree. It's a really catchy tune, and when you get King Crimson involved, when I saw that, when you used to go in the NME, the picture, hello, who wrote this? Oh, hello. Yeah, great song. Right, my number four. It's a song that I've featured on a retro ranking, Madness. Got to number one for 2 weeks in 1982, and it's the fantastic House of Fun.
Yeah, good song. Like it.
Great video.
Yep.
I just love that. Okay, it's about every male has been through that stage, that song. So it relates to all guys. We all know what it's, having the Mickey tag, and it's just a fantastic song. Great lyrics. One thing they could come up with Madness was great lyrics, and that is just a fantastic song.
Oh, I love it as well, but I have to say, I don't think it's their best single. And if they were ever to only have one number one, I would have hoped it had been Baggy Trousers, which I think is their best ever song. But it's still a really good song. Well, my number three, straight in at number one in March 1980 for 3 weeks, and it's The Jam, Going Underground, which I think is absolutely magnificent. Now, there's stories about this, whether this was originally going to be the B-side, and the song The Dreams of Children, which is the B-side, it was maybe going to be the A-side. And a lot of people say it's a double A-side with The Dreams of Children, but if you look at the disc, it says A and B. So Going Underground is the A-side. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It didn't get on any other albums at the time. It's more, I think, similar to the stuff on Setting Suns from '79 than it is from the Sound Effects album, which had Start on it. But it's absolutely magnificent and definitely deserves my top three, and it gets to number three.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, when I did the album ranking of The Jam, that was missed off. So I'm trying to put enough songs to do a retro ranking on an album singles by The Jam. So that's something that's coming up at some stage, but it's a great song. It's one of my favourite songs by The Jam. Right, my number three is totally different from what I've been doing. Got to number one for 2 weeks in 1988. And it's a song by Enya called Barinoco Flow. I love Enya. I really love Enya. It's one of them chill out times for me, and that is a fantastic song. I love her voice. I really do.
I don't really know much about Enya apart from Barinoco Flows, but she's a sort of artist I think I would like if I actually sat down and listened to her.
Yeah, she is coming up on the channel, so at some stage, yeah, and I just love that song.
Good choice. Well, my number two is from a band that also got into my top 10 of the 70s number ones.
Oh, blimey.
The only band that did, and it is Abba and Super Trooper. Absolutely love this song. Got to number one in November 1980. Stayed there for 3 weeks. It was knocked off, I believe, by John Lennon's Just Like Starting Over, which happened just because, obviously, he got killed. But this is a song that was the last written for the album. They had the album more or less finished, and there was a song on it called Put On Your White Sombrero. But they thought they needed another single. So they hurriedly wrote this, a couple of days on the album, released it as a single, #1, extremely, extremely catchy. And it's my second favorite Abba single behind Fernando. So it gets #2 on this list. So I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing how many bands have had that. You know, we've got to get an extra song on, and that song they put on takes them 5 minutes to write, and it's probably one of their biggest hits.
Exactly, exactly.
Paranoid, Black Sabbath. That was an afterthought.
Was it after? I didn't know that.
An afterthought. Yeah, great choice. I always thought we were thought, you know, lyrics that you thought, hello, about the disco. It sounds like she's going to Glasgow and Tesco's. Yeah, yeah, great choice. Now, my #2 is actually the one that knocked that off #1.
Right, John Lennon.
John Lennon, Just Like Starting Over. I've always thought it's a great song, but I don't think that would have got to #1 unless sadly murdered.
Well, it actually got top 10 and then started falling down the charts, and then he got murdered, and then it jumped straight up to #1.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, did you see the show I did on John Lennon? How I put together my perfect double fantasy in the playlist because I can't stand Yoko Ono singing for Toffee. But yeah, it's a great song, and I said, although I think it shouldn't have got to #1, it did.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed it as well. It was close to getting into my top 10. It didn't even quite make the bubbling unders as well, but it was close. Right, my #1. It's already been mentioned by you.
Ooh.
Stand and Deliver.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
Best #1 of the 1981 of the 1980s. Definitely, the video is superb. It really is. And I have never, ever got fed up with this song. I absolutely love it. And it was #1 for 5 weeks, May 1981. And you said everything about it. Brilliant video. Just excellent song.
My #1 is actually a song written by John Lennon.
Ooh. I know what it is.
Yeah, and it was on the Imagine album. And this version of it is the best version of it ever. And it's, of course, it got to #1 for 2 weeks in 1981. And it's Roxy Music's version of Jealous Guy.
Yeah, I love it as well.
I think Brian Ferry sings it far much better.
Now, I will admit, whenever it first came out, I didn't like it because I knew John Lennon's version so well. But I have come round to it, and I agree with you. I do think it is the better version. I think it's perfectly done. It's a different version. It's a very synthy version as well, very smooth, whereas John Lennon's is more piano-based. I like the both of them, but I think I do prefer the Roxy Music
version. It's that saxophone solo that really...
it's wonderful.
It's
absolutely
wonderful piece of music. I can't say much more about that one. It was just a great song. It's still one of my favourite Roxy Music songs ever.
Yeah, well, my favourite single of theirs from the 80s is actually Avalon.
Oh, I love that song.
I absolutely love that song. And it's the backing vocals of that song I adore. When the girl singer, can't remember her name, really, really, really high. But it's a fantastic song. But in saying that, Jealous Guy is every bit as good.
That was an interesting top 10, a good mixture.
Yes, very quick, very quick.
Very quick. So, shall we do our bubbling unders? And I'll let you go first.
I will go. Right, this one here is 4 weeks at #1 in November '86. And it's Berlin's Take My Breath Away, which are, yeah, love it. I know it's from Top Gun. I've never actually seen Top Gun. I've seen bits of it. I've never actually seen the full film.
I've got a story about that. I took a young lady to do it and I fell asleep.
But I love this song, and I remember borrowing the album off a friend so I could tape the album, and this was on it. And the album was absolute rubbish. It was completely different to the song, so they tagged this on because it was so successful. But I really, really do like it. And I actually had this in my top 10. This was taken off last minute. Another one I have is from 1983, July 1983, for 3 weeks. And it's Paul Young's Wherever I Lay My Hat, That's My Home. And I think his voice is really, really good on it. And I love the bass sound of it. And it is an old Marvin Gaye B-side, which I don't think I've actually ever heard. But this is just an absolutely wonderful ballad from the summer, the very hot summer of '83.
Yeah, I've actually seen Paul Young.
Have you?
Yes, he supported Rolling Stones on the Steel Wheels tour at Wembley.
Was he any good?
Brilliant.
Oh, good.
Absolutely brilliant. And that, when he sang that, the crowd went wild and sang with him all the way through. Brilliant.
It's fantastic. So, and my third one, and this would equate a little bit to your Anika, but it was a few months before it. And it is Kelly Marie and Feels Like I'm in Love.
Oh, God, that is one song I do not.
Love it. Now, this was written by Ray Dorset of Mungo Jerry. Now, I'm a big Mungo Jerry fan of In the Summertime. Okay, so this was written in the late 70s, and then it was discoified for Kelly Marie. And again, I think this is from around 1978, 1979, and it took about a year and a bit for it to chart and got to number one. I think only for, well, 3 weeks in September 1980, and I love it. And I love the follow-up, Loving Just for Fun as well, and the follow-up to that, Hot Love.
No, I'm not a fan of that. Right, my bubbly numbers. Well, I'm going to start with one of the most controversial songs from the 80s, from Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and Relax.
Yeah, I nearly put it on, but no.
How to Be Successful. Get Mike Reid from BBC One to ban you.
Exactly. I know, exactly. It is a really good record. I think I prefer Two Tribesmen, but
yeah, I do. My second one is from the Bangles, 4 weeks at number one. Oh, Frankie Hollywood was 5 weeks at number one for being banned. So my second one is 4 weeks at number one in 1989 from Bangles, Eternal Flame.
Yeah, fantastic. So, fantastic.
The Atomic Kitten one, you can stick it because it was awful.
Listen, I do like Atomic Kitten, but I agree, I don't like their version of it.
And my last one, a song from 1985, got to number one for 4 weeks. And it's Easy Lover by Philip Bailey featuring Phil Collins.
Yes, now, I know.
Everyone thinks it's a Phil Collins song. It is not. He just turned up and did some stuff on it. It's a great song.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's a good song. I like it, but I think they sing well together, though. That's the thing. I think their voices did suit each other for that one. So there we go.
Yeah, indeed. That was fun. I enjoyed that. There was a lot of chopping and changing. I want to give another shout out to one I was going to put in, but I don't have the single, but I do have the album, and that's Billie Jean by Michael Jackson, which I also think is an absolutely brilliant song. And yes, it put the number one in early '83, so from the Thriller album. So,
well, this is quite good. It's Andy's cross because I've just had the 10 minutes notice up, so this has worked out well. People have been saying, over friends, are we going to tackle any more of the decades?
Well, we could, but it'll be a case of you putting the wee thing up on the screen for me as well, because I don't really have.
So what do you want to do? We've got someone that challenged me for the 90s, one of my friends off.
Right.
It's difficult. So we got the 50s to 60s and the 90s. You choose.
Well, why not the 90s?
This is going to be out of our comfort zone.
It is out of my comfort zone, but why not?
Why not? So the next time we do something, it will be the 90s.
Right.
I'll take a while to go in. Well, once again, Richard, it's always a pleasure to work with you. I really enjoy our time together.
Enjoyed it as well, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be back on Monday, where I've got a retro ranking of an alternative rock band called Cold from America. and we are doing a classic album from Crowded House. Low Men Live. I can't remember the title of it, but I'm sure you know that.
I know the one.
Yeah, the song that was a classic but didn't sell much outside of Australia and New Zealand.
Right, that's Don't Dream Us Over, no?
The Dying of the Low Men, I think. Oh, let's have a look. The Temple of the Low Men.
Right, okay.
Okay, that's about wrapped up for this. So thanks again, Richard, for joining us. And I will see you all on Monday. Bye for now.